I dreamt that one day I will grow up and become a book. Not a writer, but a book. I thought this will be the best way to survive.
One of the things that was so terrible about the Holocaust was the feeling of helplessness, the feeling of being treated as non-human beings.
Judaism is a link that resembles a family more than a mite.
We are ready to sacrifice for Jewish dignity, for Jewish independence, for having our own fate decided by us.
对希伯来语稍有了解的人都会对这种语言居然能够重新出现在现代日常生活当中而感到惊奇，因为这种语言是具有古代犹太民族的意识民族语言，也是犹太教的宗教语言。过去的2500年，希伯来语主要用于圣经和相关宗教方面的研究。以色列复国后，把希伯来语定为官方语言之一，用希伯来语字母书写。在20世纪以来的犹太复国运动当中，希伯来语也扮演了非常重要的角色，成为团结犹太人的关键力量。
If somebody from the Bible would come here now to this room and I will talk with him Hebrew, he will understand me. Many words exactly the same.
We are the only state that speaks the ancient language, Hebrew. Nobody speaks its own tongue.
Now, when we have our prayers always, all of them were only in Hebrew. So for years, whether it was in Israel or whether it was in the diaspora outside Israel, always people used to pray in Hebrew. But the religious world was the main world of Jews.
I think that Jews are basically an ethnic group with a common religion.
It's a nation. Jews, it means Jewishness, means religion and nation at the same time. We are the Jewish people. This is what makes us unique.
Because whoever is born to a Jewish woman, despite the fact that his father is not Jewish, is considered Jewish. And on the other hand, whoever converts to Judaism is also considered a Jew, but it's not racist because it's open and anybody can join it.
So it's a combination of history, heritage, and vision.
1894年，犹太裔法国陆军上尉德雷福斯被指控出卖法国陆军情报给德国，军事法庭裁定其叛国罪名成立，判以终身苦役，并流放外岛。事后虽经证实纯属诬告，军事法庭却因为德雷福斯的犹太人身份而拒绝改判，引起了左拉等知识分子和群众的抗议，并演变为一场具有深远历史意义的运动。这就是法国近代史上轰动一时的德雷福斯事件。
By the end of the 19th century, there was the Dreyfus trial, and many Jewish leaders or journalists were present. It created a great question mark. Why do the Europeans and the others hate the Jews? What went wrong? Aren't we human beings like all the others? And there were two answers. One, a communist answer, and another, a Zionist answer. You know, in the communist leadership there was a great deal of Jewish people, Karl Marx himself, and Trotsky, and Zinoviev, and Kamenev. The first president of the Soviet Union was Jewish, Sverdlov. They say the Jews are suffering because the world is divided among classes, among nations, among religions. So let's create a new world. Classless, godless, nationless, so the Jews will not suffer. We shall be like all the rest of us. So a great deal of Jews became communists, a part of Jews became Zionists. Number two, our dream was to come back to our homeland. The country is rich, the country is poor, the land is arid, the land is fertile. That is our land. That is where the vision of our prophets began. That's where our prayers were aimed to. So it went together.
犹太裔奥地利人西奥多·郝茨尔在1896年出版了一个叫做《犹太国》的小册子，并在1897年在瑞士的巴塞尔召开了第一次犹太复国主义者大会。这次大会成立了世界犹太复国主义者组织，并推选郝茨尔为这个组织的第一任主席。
After the Congress in Basel in 1897, Herzl wrote in his diary, "In Basel, I have established the Jewish state. If I say it now, nobody would believe me. But within 5 years, or maybe, 20 years, or maybe 50 years, this is going to be realized." And it happened exactly 50 years after that. Out of nothing, suddenly represented the Jewish national movement. He had nothing in his hand, and suddenly he went and talked to the Sultan. He went and talked to the German emperor, to the Pope, and so on and so forth. Suddenly, out of nothing, he created from Zionists a political power. And this was a genius kind of work.
而能够将四散在世界各地的犹太人联合起来的方式，就是犹太教和作为犹太教祈祷语言保存下来的希伯来语。
The idea was that if we come back to Israel, we have to come back also to Hebrew. In everyday life, not only in prayers, not only in studying, but also when we shout, when we curse, when we love, in everyday life, when we make mistakes, we have to speak our language. So they renew the Hebrew. If we don't have this connection to the land, to the language, to our belief, so what we're doing on this tiny land in the world? I mean, Israel is so tiny. Look at the map. You even don't have enough place on the map to write Israel. You write it on the sea. We are so tiny. Sometimes when I hear around Israel all the nonsense that they're saying, the big conquerors, the big invaders, and I mean, Israel is a tiny land like this. And so our only connection here is a spiritual one. Why the grandfather of my father came to Israel 1888? He was a genius. He was a doctor. He was a rabbi. He was an engineer. He could go everywhere in the world. He could go to Einstein, United States. Why did he come to Israel? Because he thought that this is the land of the Jews. Brought back the Hebrew language to be the everyday language, but it was there. But it was not enough used in everyday life. I suppose that most of the Jews, when they told a lady, "I love you," they said it in other language, not in Hebrew. But since then, we say more and more, I love you in Hebrew.
台动力 WD-12发动机，更经济、更强劲、更安全、更可靠，让强者更强。绿色动力，国际潍柴。
黄鹤楼，天赐淡雅香。
SUV 新境界 iX35 北京现代，创维电视黄牌大放送。他是坚定无畏的共产主义斗士，在兄弟内斗时，他又如何夹缝求存？
毛泽东说你是中苏各打50大板。
带您寻访一个真实而生动的胡志明，纪念胡志明诞辰120周年特别企划。遥望南天忆故人，胡志明和他的传奇。星期六，凤凰卫视中央台。
We have Arabs, 1 million Arabs, and we have 100,000 Jews. Still, the majority of this society are Jews. So it's a very Jewish society. And there are so many traits, so many characteristics in Israel that comes from the Jewish world. So the place of religion in our country is very prominent, very, very important.
Jews are not allowed to eat pork. It's written in the Bible. There are a lot of reasons for it, but the major things, it's written in the Bible. We have a lot of rules about it. We have to keep separate system of dishes. You're not allowed to eat also meat and the milk in the same dishes. And we have to separate with time. You're not allowed to touch a woman that is not your wife. The shield of David or the Star of David. It became the identity of Jewish people. From the Middle Ages, when you see a Star of David, you know that is a Jewish symbol. But till the Middle Ages, it was in the early Muslim period, it was a very unique Muslim symbol as well. The Khamsa is coming as a Jewish symbol from the priest. The priest used to give a blessing to the people of Israel.
If you don't wear a yarmulke, means that you are not religious. We have affection. It's part of our life. We celebrate holidays.
The Shabbat will start on Friday afternoon. We kind of like Shabbat enough to push it in a little, so we receive Shabbat 20 minutes or so before sunset. And it ends when the stars come out. So that will be 25 hours once a week. So Saturday for everybody is Shabbat for us.
I'm allowed in Shabbat to take some heavy table and to bring it from room to room. But I'm not allowed to fire like this because it's creation of new things. The whole idea is that the world was created in 6 days and on Shabbat, stop.
Shabbat comes from the word of rest, but not rest as far as sleep, but rest from creating. Don't wash, don't clean. I like that very much. I don't have to fix anything that's broken because I'm not allowed to. So basically, you try to get to a point before Shabbat that your world is as complete as you can make it, including preparing food ahead of time because we don't cook on that day. And then you consider your world complete. Some people do it with some meditation for a few minutes a day. We do it for 25 hours once a week.
We found that in the elevator that the lift actually would stop every floor. Could you explain? Because we cannot push the button.
This is extremely hard to explain. I am going to apologize and say sometimes tradition takes us pretty far. And once it becomes a tradition, then even if we question it, we just stick by it because tradition has its own powers.
Keeping Shabbat brings a lot of energy to all the other 6 days. A lot of energy. It's like putting you in the electricity, and after Shabbat you have a lot of you will be energizer. You will run in all the rooms full of energy. Myself, as I told you, I didn't come from a religious family. I come from what we call in Israel traditional family, and I've decided to keep more seriously because my state of mind is not to make easy life for myself. If I believe in something, I do it. I don't know to do half and half. Because for us, everything, the origin of everything is God. And God created the world, and God created physics, and God created the Bible.
Traditional, it's a scale. Traditional, more religious, more religious, ultra-religious. They have some, affiliation for the Jewish heritage, religion, and etc. Also, the majority of the population are not religious. They, they practice secular daily life.
To what extent one keeps the commandments, it's a personal matter. We cannot force, I don't want to force. Once you do it compulsory, or once you bring it with politics, it's very dangerous, and then it's not good.
About the holiness of the area, in the Jewish tradition, this area is called the stone of foundation. So, in the Jewish tradition, this area became sanctified during the event of Abraham that is going to sacrifice Isaac. He was told to do it on one of the mountains that God is showing to him, and the name of the mountain is Mount Moriah.
这里是犹太教中最神圣的一块土地，犹太人称它为圣殿山，但这里也是伊斯兰教的圣地，阿拉伯人称它为尊贵的圣堂。
And according to Jewish tradition, from the dirt or ashes underneath this special stone, the ashes or the soil from which the man was made was taken by God. This is a basic reason why the place became sanctified to the Jewish tradition.
犹太教传说中，犹太先祖亚伯拉罕在这里领受上帝的旨意，祭献儿子，而他的孙子雅各在这里和天使摔跤，所以这块土地被命名为以色列，意思是与神角力。而上帝就是用这些泥土创造了第一个人亚当。
Over here at the high area, we have the area of the Moriah Mount, okay, the place where the Jewish temple stood during the first temple period and the second temple period.
圣殿是由古以色列的所罗门王修建，但在公元前586年，巴比伦王杀到这里，他摧毁了圣殿，赶走了犹太人。直到公元前538年，波斯王居鲁士灭了巴比伦后，犹太人才被允许返回，并得到了归还的5000多件圣殿物品。
The people of Israel went out of the exile. They went to Babylon for exile of 70 years, and afterwards they came back.
于是犹太人在公元前516年动手在第一圣殿的原址上补建第二圣殿，但在公元70年，罗马王镇压犹太人起义，竟将重建的圣殿彻底焚毁，只留下了西墙的墙基的一段。后人收集残石，在墙基上垒出了一堵墙。在罗马时期，每年的11月9日，圣殿毁灭日的这一天，才允许世界各地的犹太人到圣殿的西墙遗址祈祷。而饱受苦难的犹太人面对圣殿的残垣断壁，总忍不住唏嘘哀哭， 哭墙因此得名。
高科技 LED、3D GPS 导航、低碳高性能发动机，阳光天地，驰骋随心。圣达菲 C9， 华泰汽车。
黄鹤楼，天赐淡雅香。
火山爆发，地球不经意显示力量，万物瞬间消亡，人类背井离乡，天空蒙尘，飞机收起翅膀，打破了人类主宰一切的狂妄。TCL 地球宣言，今天凤凰卫视中文台。
אלוקים בחר את המקום הזה, לשים כאן את בית מקדש ראשון, בית מקדש שני, והוא הבטיח לשלמה המלך שכביכול העיניים והלב שלו יהיו כאן תמיד. בתנ"ך מופיע דו-שיח בין שלמה המלך לאלוקים, שגם מופיע על השלט כאן מזכוכית. בדו-שיח הזה שלמה המלך מבקש מאלוקים שכל תפילה שתהיה לאדם במקום הזה, שאלוקים ישמע את תפילתו. אני משמש כרב הכותל המערבי, מסביב יש הנהלה, יש אנשים שמפעילים פה את המקום הזה, הוא מקום שפתוח כל שעות היממה, 365 ימים בשנה.
This is a holy place.
ולכן צריכים להתנהג כמו מקום קדוש.
This is why I need to behave properly.
התפילין זה חלק שאדם משבד את ראשו ואת מעשיו לבורא עולם. היד היא החלק שאתה מפעיל ואתה עושה איתו דברים, הראש איתו אתה חושב. כשאתה מתחיל את היום שלך, אתה אומר, מעשיי והמחשבותיי יהיו קשורים לבורא עולם. כל אחד שר את משהו מתוך הלב, ברגע מסוים הוא מתרגש, יש אדם שמוריד דמעות, יש אדם ששר לבורא עולם, כולנו, לפעמים אנחנו גם מודים לאלוקים וגם מבקשים ממנו.
西墙前的祈祷区，男人和女人被分隔开，许多人在祈祷完成后倒着走出祈祷区，以示对墙的敬意。
שלמה המלך, כשהקים את בית המקדש, הוא ביקש מאלוקים שכל תפילה שתהיה לאדם במקום הזה, בין אם הוא יהודי ובין אם הוא לא יהודי, שאלוקים ישמע את התפילה שלו.
在这块圣地上，同时存在的还有伊斯兰教最早的清真寺圆顶清真寺和阿克萨清真寺。穆斯林相信，圆顶清真寺中间的岩石就是他们的先知穆罕默德夜行灯宵和天使加百利一起到天堂见到真主的地方。一个地方同时成为两大宗教最重要的圣地，宗教归属问题让这里成为易爆的火药桶。 2002年，以色列为了将哭墙和苦路连接起来，同时挖掘犹太教古迹，于是穿过两大清真寺的底部，开通圣殿山地下隧道。而同一年，时任以色列总理的沙龙踏进圣殿山清真寺，这两件事情都曾引发阿拉伯人与以色列之间的暴力冲突。
דת אמיתית לא מביא אף פעם למלחמה. מי שמסלף את הדת יכול להביא למלחמה. הכותל המערבי הוא כותל של שלום, הוא כותל של דת אמיתית, הוא לעולם לא יביא מלחמות. לא רק בגלל שאנחנו נמצאים בתקופות אחרות, אלא כי האמונה שלנו שאנחנו פותחים את המקומות הקדושים לכולם. נכון שאנחנו עם הנבחר, אבל לאף אחד אין את פטרונות על אלוקים. אלוקים הוא שייך לכולם, ברא את כולם, כך שכל אחד גם יכול להתפלל ולבקש ממנו. אלוקים של שלום הוא לא אלוקים של טרור, הוא לא אלוקים של רצח. חופש הדת לא מתיר לפגוע ברגשות אחרים. זה לא קשור בכלל לכותל המערבי. זה בעיה של שבת בין קבוצה כזאת לקבוצה אחרת. צריך להיות חכם ולנהל את העיר הזאת בחוכמה, גם בתוך היהודים וגם בין היהודים לדתות אחרות. זו עיר רגישה, מלאה רגשות דתיים, וצריך להיות חכם.
Love, career.
They are coming, yes, everybody. There is no restriction for other people to come to visit. The Western Wall tunnels are open for all nations, for all religions.
Yes, security means from the personal point of view. And when it comes to territorial, to have a deal, when it comes to it's just a matter of security. We have some, let's say, we have our loonies. Every society has its own loonies. Those have some mystical views, irrational views. They can compromise. But those are the minorities. They don't lead.
There are two things. First of all, democracy was our ideology, and something else which is not less important.
If you're a free society, if you're a democratic society, a real democratic society, eventually you will improve yourself. That's our idea of democracy.
We have had a draft of a state before we became a state. Before we became a state that has the strength to impose a law, it was a coalition of parties. So everything should have been achieved by consensus.
Because once you have free thinking, free science, free law, when you have the law, so you can put to court some evil people, you can't punish them. And we had democracy right from the beginning.
So every party kept our own flag, our own ideology, but we kept together in order to achieve an independent state.
在以色列独立宣言当中，以色列国被称为一个建立在自由、公正与和平基础上的现代化民主国家。在这个国家里面，任何人不分性别、种族和宗教，都享有同等的社会政治权利， 不过，因为以色列是一个移民国家，社会构成极为复杂，因此以色列建国初期形成了代表不同利益的三大政治阵营，那就是社会民主党的阵营、中产阶级阵营和宗教阵营。由于他们在立国思想和国家疆界上面存在的严重的分歧，无法统一，导致以色列至今还没有一部成文宪法，而是依赖一系列的重要法律构成了他们的基本法体系。它发挥宪法的作用，但是不可忽视的是，犹太教的宗教和它文化特性早已经融入犹太民族当中，这也就是它和外族的冲突总被看成是宗教冲突一个重要的原因。明天我们就会带您看犹太文化如何在以色列建国过程当中产生了重大影响，怎样使犹太人成为外族人眼中的精明人。